After 25 die, protesters prepare to stand their ground in Ukraine. They've given up their ground before voluntarily as a political concession, but that seems to be over. After the death of 25 people in clashes a day earlier, Ukrainian protesters are prepared to stand and fight against Wednesday. Police want to clear them out of central Kyiv. Some of them died trying to stay put Tuesday, using projectiles and burning barricades to keep security forces at bay at Kyiv's Maidan or Independence Square. It was the deadliest day in the months-long standoff between the government and opposition leaders. Thousands of demonstrators have packed Independence Square since November, when President Viktor Yanukovych reversed a decision to sign a trade deal with the European Union and instead turned toward Russia. The unrest intensified after an anti-protest law went into effect. Thousands of demonstrators took to the streets to protest the law. Police and protesters were among Tuesday's dead. A journalist and a government employee died too. More than 240 others were hospitalized. Ukraine's health ministry said. Overnight, demonstrators stocked up, passing stones hand to hand, filling Molotov cocktails and stocking flaming barricades with wood and tires. They prepared a makeshift compressed air cannon to catapult the projectiles into police ranks. Hundreds of others came out to give moral support to those holding the square and to add their numbers to the throng wanted to keep the opposition movement alive. Corporate lawyer and reporter Volodymyr Solovyov was one of them. Whenever police threaten to clear the Maidan, he goes there. Tuesday, he watched as protesters rushed injured people from the front lines to medics. Some of them had broken hands and blood was flowing down their faces, he said Wednesday. Barrage of stun grenades shattered the air around him through the night. When it goes off, the whole area vibrates, he said. But the barricades held, and it made him happy. When the sun rose Wednesday, smoke was still rising from them into the sky. Finger pointed. Even as the European Union scheduled a meeting on Ukraine for Thursday and the leaders of France and Poland called for sanctions over the violence. Yanukovych fired fresh vitriol at his opposition. He pinned blame for the violence exclusively on protesters, but he would have none of it himself. This is my life principle. No power is worth a drop of blood spilled for it, he said in a statement. Yet, he issued a veiled threat to protesters. Opposition forces should disassociate themselves from the radical forces that provoke bloodshed and clashes with law enforcement, he said. Otherwise, admit to supporting them and be treated accordingly, Yanukovych demanded. Opposition leaders pointed the finger back, painting their supporters as the victim, not the aggressors. Neither side seems to have a monopoly on the use of violence, and in the mayhem, it is sometimes hard to tell who is carrying it out. The journalist who died Wednesday was shot the night before, after a group of masked people stopped a taxi he was riding in, according to a statement by his newspaper Ukraine Vesti. They wore camouflage clothes and were throwing Molotov cocktails. They beat other passengers in the car, and Pepper reported. Hope dashed hard. Tuesday's violence followed what seemed like a rare breakthrough. The government has said it would drop charges against those arrested in the political unrest. After holding Kyiv City Hall for 3 months, protesters pulled back Sunday and unblocked streets in the city center. But hope died Tuesday, when the Speaker of Parliament refused to allow amendments that would limit the president's powers. Opposition anger reignited and poured into the streets. The government's prosecutor general accused the opposition of breaking the truce, thus setting the stage for the security crackdown that ensued. Riot police plowed into the crowd with water cannons, stun grenades, and nightsticks. Some demonstrators fought back, swinging what looked like baseball bats. Protesters set fire to the headquarters of the ruling party of regions, but the opposition's headquarters, the trade union's house, was also smoldering at daybreak Wednesday. Authorities accused protesters of firing guns at security forces, and armored personnel charged barricades, but was quickly inundated and set alight. Kyiv was the center of the action, as in the past. But police say the unrest has spread to western Ukraine, with protesters attacking police and local government offices in a number of regions. Political fuel spark. Flaming barricades have been a constant for 3 months all around Kyiv's Independence Square, but Tuesday's bloodshed marked a decisive escalation. Though the strife started over a trade pact, protesters' anger was fueled by underlying sentiments in favor of the West and against Russia. Their initial call for Yanukovych was reversed his decision on the EU trade deal, avalanched over time into an attack on the president's power base. Yanukovych and his allies responded with some concessions, offering places in government to opposition leaders. But off again, talks have gone nowhere. Both sides have demanded that the other back down first, and neither is budging. Yanukovych, an opposition leader and famed boxer, Vitaly Klitschko, played another round of the U-First game in an overnight face-to-face meeting. Speaking to reporters afterward, Klitschko said there effectively was no discussion. The president demanded the protesters back off first. Klitschko threw the demand back at him. "I told Yanukovych this," he said. "How can we negotiate when there is blood being spilled?" West visits Moscow. EU leaders condemned the violence and waived the possibility of sanctions at Kiev's government, placing most of the responsibility on its shoulders. EU Commission President Jose Manuel Barroso threatened target measures against those responsible in a statement. Europe will certainly reconsider the restraint it has shown in deciding whether to impose sanctions on individuals, said German Foreign Minister Frank-Walter Steinmeier. But Russia is also waving money, standing by with billions in economic aid for Ukraine's economy. Since political tensions began, Washington and Moscow have weighed in on opposite ends and kept doing so Tuesday. U.S. Vice President Joe Biden called Yanukovych to press him to stop the violence, placing the responsibility to de-escalate mainly with government. Secretary of State John Kerry later backed up the vice president's words. He called for the Ukraine government to halt violence immediately and reopen dialogue with the opposition. Russia accused Washington of meddling in Ukraine affairs. Washington is trying to tell the authorities of a sovereign state what they should do next and how they should do it. An article in Russia's state-run RIA Novosti read, UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon condemned the clashes in a statement late Tuesday and called for them to stop. He reiterated to all sides that the use of violence is unacceptable. It read, Ban said, preventing more bloodshed is a paramount priority. But in Kiev, the call may be falling on the deaf ears of embittered rivals. Alaska. No evidence Miranda Barber killed someone here. Alaskan authorities say there's no evidence to back up a 19-year-old Pennsylvania woman's claim that one of the countless killings she carried out was in their state. Miranda Barber told a newspaper reporter over the weekend that she killed so many people across so many states in the last 6 years that she lost count. She told a Daily Item newspaper in Sunbury, Pennsylvania, that the killings spanning from Alaska to North Carolina. However, Alaska State troopers say Tuesday Barbara's claims don't bear out, at least in their state. At this time, the Alaska State troopers are not aware of any information beyond Barbara's comments quoted in the press or evidence that would implicate Barbara with a homicide committed in Alaska, a statement from the agency said. The agency said it has been in contact with Pennsylvania authorities. We will follow up on any credible lead that is provided to us, the statement said. Claims invite skepticism. Barbara told the newspaper that she began killing when she was 13. She took credit for more than 22, but fewer than 100 killings. Daily Item reporter Francis Skersla told CNN affiliate WNEP. Authorities haven't verified her claims, although they are investigating. Many are skeptical. Barbara and his husband, Elliot Barber, 22, do face murder charges in the 2013 death of 42-year-old Troy LaFerrara, who police say the couple lured with the Craigslist ad, strangled, repeatedly stabbed and dumped in a yard. If her other claims are true, Barbara would be one of the nation's most prolific serial killers. Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, pled guilty to killing 49 women in Washington state in the 1980s and 1990s. Randy Stephen Kraft may have killed as many as 65 young men in the 1970s and early 1980s. Based on the numbers she gave, Skersla Barbara would have had to kill on average somewhere between every 3 weeks and every 3 months for 6 years without leaving a trace. Yet, in the 2013 killing, police documents show Barbara told police she had her husband couldn't clean up all the blood LaFerrara's killing left in her CRV, and that one of the ways investigators traced the killings to her was her own cell phone. The last number dialed on LaFerrara's phone led to Barbara, according to police. Even the prosecutor, who hopes to convict the couple, Northumberland County District Attorney Tony Rosny, said he discounts Barbara's other claims. We have been in contact with other law enforcement agencies where she has lived and haven't received any information verifying what she said, Rossini told WNEP. Does Formula Mystery help keep Coke afloat? Coca-Cola, the world's ubiquitous brown fizzy drink, is staying afloat as the soda market shrinks, and many point to a marketing strategy around the so-called secret recipe as key to its resilience in a struggling industry. The Coca-Cola Company, which published its full-year result Tuesday, recorded a 5% drop in net income to $8.6 billion last year, down from $9 billion in 2012, as it faced ongoing global macroeconomic challenges. According to its chief executive, Muhtar Kent, volume grew 2% for the year, which it said was below our expectations and long-term growth target, with sparkling beverages recording a slight increase of 1%, led by Coca-Cola. Globally, soda drink sales have been shrinking as consumers turn to water, fruit drinks, and healthier alternatives. The trend has hit Coke and other market players such as PepsiCo and Dr. Pepper, and while its primary competitor, PepsiCo, depends on its snack business to buoy the declining soda sales, Coke announced further investment into its marketing. In a tough market, one strategy that brand experts credit Coke's relative strengths with is the mystery around the much-hyped secret recipe. The very idea of mystery attracts attention and is often seen as an element of quality, says social psychologist and marketing expert Ben Voyer, lecturer at London School of Economics and ESCP Europe Business School. A typical consumer would think that it must be a valuable product if they are doing all these things to protect the recipe. Coca-Cola's secret recipe story, on which it has centered advertising campaigns and built into its corporate museum, reaches back nearly a century. According to the Multinations website, the original recipe was only written down in 1919, more than half a century after a reported morphines addict and pharmacist John Pemberton invented the drink in 1886. Until then, it was passed down by word of mouth. The formula was finally committed to paper when a group of investors led by Ernest Woodruff took out a loan to purchase the company in 1919. As collateral, he provided a written record of the Coca-Cola secret formula. Coke said in a statement on its site, "Since the 1920s, the document sat locked in a bank in Atlanta, until Coca-Cola decided to emphasize the secret in its marketing strategy. 86 years later, Coca-Cola moved the recipe into a purpose-built vault within the world of Coca-Cola, the company's museum in Atlanta. The ambience is made complete by red lighting and fake smoke. Coca-Cola has always claimed only 2 senior executives know the formula at any given time, although they have never revealed names or positions. But according to an advertising campaign based around the recipe, they can travel on the same plane. The vault, like one straight from a film, has a palm scanner, a numerical code, pad and massive steel door. Inside its wall, there's another safe box with more security features, and inside that, the metal case containing what its owners call the most guarded trade secret in the world, a piece of paper with, according to Coca-Cola, a recipe inside. But Mark Pendergrast, author of For God Country Coca-Cola, is skeptical. John Pemberton, inventing Coca-Cola in 1886, at the height of the Patent-Madison era, and one of the ironies of that name is that no one actually patents such creations, he says. They kept the formula secret, partly in order to increase sales with a sense of special mystery and to prevent competition, but also to keep people from knowing how cheap the ingredients were and how large the profits, he says. The company has never patented the formula, saying to do so would require its disclosure, and once the patent expired, anyone would be able to use the recipe to produce a generic version of the world-famous drink. The secret creates a national curiosity about the product itself. Consumers are more likely to try to find out the recipe, Boyer says. Adding to it creates a legend around Coca-Cola's flagship drink. Scores of recipes have emerged through the decades. Their authors usually claim to have cracked the original recipe by getting hold of antique documents. So far, Coke has rejected all of them as fantasy, saying there is only one real thing. Mark Pendergast's book includes two versions of the original formula. One is facsimile in the handwriting of Frank Robinson, the unsung hero of Coca-Cola who named the drink, wrote the famous Scripps logo, manufactured the drink in its early days, and advertised it, he says. Does he think the recipe is genuine? Yes, I think that both of the Coca-Cola formulas in my book are the real thing, versions of the original formula for Coca-Cola, he says. In the end, the exact formula isn't really the issue, he says. Pendergast reiterates a tale told in his book, in which he speaks to a Coca-Cola spokesperson who points out that even if its competitors got hold of the formula, they wouldn't be able to compete. Why would anyone go out of their way to buy Yum Yum, which is really just like Coca-Cola, but costs more, when they can buy the real thing anywhere in the world, he was told. In pictures, on board Mills go flying as plane hits turbulence. Images taken on a recent Singapore Airlines flight might suggest passengers had become unusually ferocious in their disdain for the on-board meal. But this was no Bugsy Malone esque food flinging Vesta. The plane hit turbulence shortly after breakfast was served, and the result was culinary carnage. Singapore Airlines Flight SQ308 experienced moderate to severe turbulence en route from Singapore to London on May 26, said airline spokesman Nicholas lonely days. 11 passengers and 1 crew member sustained minor injuries when the aircraft experienced a sudden loss of altitude and were attended to by medical personnel on arrival at Heathrow Airport. Passengers reported coffee cups, cutlery, and even a few people were thrown about the cabin as the plane lost altitude. Alan Cross, one of the passengers who took the images you see here, told CNN, "Everything violently rocketed off all the tray tables into the ceilings. You literally feel your stomach going into your throat." The mess was cleaned up soon after the passengers were given chocolate gifts on landing in London. Blast killed at least 16 in Iraq, 19 wounded. At least 16 people in Iraq were killed Tuesday in 10 car bombs, police said. At least 90 people were wounded. 3 blasts occurred in the capital, Baghdad, and 7 were reported to the south, in Bibel province. 3 of the suspected bombs blew up in Bibel's capital, Hillah. A mature video post on YouTube shows a car exploding in a garage in Hillah, a huge blaze and several vehicles on fire. Iraq has been engulfed in political and sectarian violence for months. 16 people were killed in separate attacks Monday.